Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice, and we have an interesting episode today. Not one that we've really talked about on this show, so I'm excited to dive in here. We're going to talk about a digital transformation. That sounds scary, but don't worry. I have a guest with me. We're going to unpack it. I know nothing about this. I am not your tech best friend, but my guest here, Mariam, might be. So before we go any further, Mariam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandon.
So I'm terrified. Me and tech, actually, as a matter of fact, to share with you, right as we were getting on, I had a tech issue. We had our internet go out before we started recording. So tech is not our best friend today, but I'm hoping you can help us demystify the tech world. So help me understand this, though, in the context of today's conversation, a digital transformation. How do you explain that to the listener? What are we really talking about?
So first of all, you don't need to be afraid of it. It's maybe like the words are very loud and scary, and they are not actually so tech that people can imagine it to be, because digital transformation is about process and changing something that you have, being more automated, being like flawless, being better processed. So it's just making stuff easier for you. If you have any process done that you think can be improved, digital transformation and the companies that are helping with that, they're just making your life easier.
Okay, that does sound less scary. I appreciate that. And that's my jam, right? Efficiency. You're a COO. I'm a COO. This is right up our alley, right? Making things smoother and run better. But can you give me some examples just so we can, picture what we're hearing in this conversation? Examples of projects that you've worked on for your clients in the past, just so we can see what this really means.
Yeah, sure. I think the one good example will be like for example, imagine a company that has a lot of data and they don't know how to filter it properly, and they have the data in Excel file and they are just using the usual formula that Excel is providing. But you exactly know what kind of reports, for example, you want to have, or what kind of boards or charts you want to see, but you don't have platform for that, right? You have those ideas in your head, and you are saying, okay, for example, HackTech, that's the company where I'm working, I need a dashboard which will help me to imagine this more properly, like this data, how it is going, what kind of good stuff we have, or what kind of risks we have. And we are providing you with a product that will have the platform in it, which will help you to imagine everything. And that's actually one simple or like easy example of how the stuff can be digitalized and basically making it automated.
Yeah, that's interesting. I come across a number of our clients where they neglect data, or just they tend not to care about it because it's so hard to compile it. Talk to me about that for a minute, because I assume this is not uncommon. And I'm even talking about companies that are in the 7-8 figure revenue range, where it's just they have so many systems, they're all spread apart, none of them really talk together. How common is that? And then we'll kind of go down the path of what we can do to fix it.
Yeah, I think it's very common actually. And besides having the data, it's also like not only about the data, but also being concentrated on the processes that you have through your path of like doing the work or like collaborating with the whole company. So basically having the data is just one example of digital transformation and how you can modify it and make it better in your process. And basically utilizing the data in proper way so your clients can have better idea of like their good stuff, or like if there is any risk, they still can be aware of those. And that's basically it. It's just the data is one part of the process that can be automated with the help of digital transformation in any company or with any product that you have in your mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I joked before we started recording that because I wanted to get a sense of where you kind of meet people. I said, are we in the stone age of tech, or are we just kind of upgrading our processes? You unpacked that for me well, but I'm also curious, how often do you come across companies, whether they're clients or you maybe meet them in the marketplace, where their tech is literally from 2007 or just very, very outdated?
Yeah, I think it's very common right now, though there is a lot of like companies that are helping with giving solutions, but it's still very common with specifically with like big companies when they already have their own processes, but they still need the improvements to happen to their product. And I'm talking about like web products, so it's like everything that you see there in the internet. So yeah, basically, I think it is very common actually. And what we are doing, we are trying to help them to go on the right path with giving them right solutions to make their work like very productive.
Yeah, I mean, I asked that question to be a little bit funny, but also to really set up this next question, which is, what is it costing people to be kind of stuck, to not have this, to not go through a digital transformation of sorts? Because I would imagine, I mean, I know for companies at that size, it's very expensive to invest in new technology, but then also to roll it out, because then you have the adoption
Yeah.
phase within their workplace. Obviously easier at a smaller company, but there's got to be inefficiencies, and it's got to be expensive to keep this technology up. So can you just talk me through kind of the cost of staying stuck versus the cost of upgrading?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, and that's something that a lot of customers are usually asking. Like, okay, so this is how much I'm spending, and this is like what I'm imagining, what I should spend in the future when having the product. And I will agree that actually, without having processes automated or without having any stuff done correctly, like after digital transformation, you're paying much more than you will pay like for one period of time. It's similar. I think it's similar to when you are buying a house, right? At the beginning, it's very difficult because like you, for example, you don't have house, you are still on a red apartment, so you are paying rent, and then you are paying for renovation, and you are paying your loan for the house. But it's very temporary because at the end you will have house when you can leave, and you will have all like the Christmas parties and all that stuff, right? And the similar thing is going with the product. When you are thinking about digital transformation and making your product digitally transformed so you can use it more properly and have processes done well, that's like very short period of time. And specifically with the process that we have in HackTech related to delivery, which are including a lot of like agile stuff in it, that's helping to make like incremental delivery there, so you can see the parts of your product being delivered and you can start using them, so you are less and less using that stone age stuff that you had before.
Yeah, no, that makes sense too, because I would assume that's what holds a lot of people back, is like they see this big price tag on something, and they can't wrap their heads around, maybe it's 3 to 6 months of implementation, and then you're going to recoup your money in the next 3 months or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but of course that's hard to swallow, because we tend, honestly, not to look that far ahead. It's always like, okay, what's happening this quarter? And we don't say, what are we doing
Mhm.
in 5 years? Like, how is this going to affect where the company's going in 5, 10 years down the road? And I think if more people adopted that mindset, stuff like this would be a lot easier, because you'd be like, oh,
Yep.
even this little upgrade's gonna be too small in 5 years. Let's just go big. Let's do three upgrades for now. But
Yeah.
it's that stuff, I think, is a mindset thing. So what do you find people call you in for when you're having those initial conversations? What are those common questions that they're asking you that you kind of have to get them over that first hump?
I think it's having the visual stuff done so they can better imagine what we are going to have. So customers are usually requesting for a plan, at least as you mentioned, for a quarter, so they specifically know what to expect. They want to know your opinion, so they are asking for the suggestions because of the experience that we have in our company with other clients. They want to know more about our experience and know like how we are imagining their product can be developed. And also the dedicated team, which is like one of our benefits that we are providing. And as I mentioned, like we are naming ourselves as engineering partners. That's because it's not just like the outsource that a lot of companies are doing, but it's more about dedicated teams that are specifically working on the project or like the products that one of the companies want. And what we are doing with these team is, so we are presenting them basically to the customer, and they have direct communication with this team, so they can always hop on the call, or like they always see the report. So yeah, I think these are specifically three things that we are usually discussing at the beginning. So it's the milestone, the experience that we have, and the suggestions that we can give, and the team which we are presenting, so they can know with whom they are working.
Yeah, you're kind of painting the picture, right, of what
Yeah,
to
yeah,
expect
exactly.
and how to manage that, which is brilliant. I think if a lot, every project should have that, first of all, but if more companies had that, things would be a lot more clear in their organization. So once you get past that, let's say they sign you on as a client, what is it that you're doing throughout this process? Because I'm always curious how projects are managed on such a large scale. Um, because I assume, you're probably battling two things, like the tech that's being affected is currently being used, so you can't break it. And
Yep.
at the same time, then you have the transformation project of building new tech, onboarding people to that, and
Mhm.
making sure, doing some testing and making sure that's smooth too. So what does that whole process look like?
Yes, that's actually a very big picture to explain.
Yeah,
But in short, like in the
give me the
easy
high
thing
level view.
yeah, sure. So what we are doing first is we are educating our customers about our processes, so we don't have those hiccups on like, okay, I thought that like you will deliver me the product yesterday, for example. So it's not like we are speaking specifically about the expectations. We are educating our customers about our processes, so they know how we are going to work, for example, or on what we are going to work for 2 weeks for. And yeah, basically it's about educating them. Plus, we are onboarding them on our tech stack, which is like the tools that we are using for, and we are explaining why we are using those tools, like the communication tool, the task management tool, the reporting stuff, all that stuff on the engineering side, so they know. And as you mentioned, like at the beginning, related to price, they know for what they are paying. It's not only about like that nice picture, or like just putting on them pink glasses. So it's usually like just explaining everything. We are keeping the transparency, which is, I think, the key to good collaboration. And yeah, basically during the process, what we are doing is we are educating and onboarding on the tool, so we don't have that misunderstanding of who is doing what or why we are doing the way that we are doing stuff.
That's interesting. So it sounds like, unless I misheard this, you actually allow your clients to see, like, in real time what you guys are working with through the software and kind of a
For
dashboard.
sure.
Wow, that's
Yes,
awesome.
definitely. That's mhm, mhm.
I was going to ask too. I would assume anytime you're building something, I relate this to construction would be like the easiest examples. If no one's ever gone through a digital transformation, I'm sure we've all seen construction and heard horror stories. Communication, right, is probably the foundation of either a project done well or one that falls apart and you have both sides yelling at each other. It sounds like that's a huge relief for communication, but how important is communication as a whole for your company, and how do you go about making sure that you're always a step ahead of your clients' questions?
Yeah, I mean, like as I mentioned, I think it's about the transparent communication, even within the team, but also with client, because like I mean, like we are human beings, and even we can do like errors during the process. But it's all about the transparency that you are keeping during communication that is helping to make that bond between the partner, or like the client and the company. And I think that's helping also to set real expectations, because like I know companies that are saying, yeah, we will give it to you in a month, but they like in their brain they know about it, it will take them 3 months. No, what we are doing in HackTech, we are really saying, okay, this will take us 3 months. That's because, and we are explaining. Whenever you have that transparency between like the client or like the customer and the company or the team, that's giving you the key to good relationship and to have the proper expectations set in order to have like great collaboration.
That's a gold nugget of the episode. I just feel like communication these days, we all want it like yesterday. And when if there's
Exactly.
just a little bit more communication, everybody can take a breath, which is beautiful. So
Mhm.
I love diving into this topic. I know you are an expert, and you could unpack this for 3 hours with us. But I appreciate you coming. And we have in the show notes down below, wherever you're watching or listening, we have the HackTech website and your personal LinkedIn profile, so they can go connect with you there. But I'm curious. I always love to end the episode on this question, because I think we've heard a lot from you, even in a short period of time. But what's the next step, right? So we believe at What If that powerful questions get powerful answers. As you can see behind me, there is a giant, obnoxious question mark. So we love questions here. But in around this conversation of a digital transformation, whether it's, should I embark on a digital transformation, or what is my tech stack looking like? What would be the one question you would leave the listener to ask themselves for the rest of today to really move their business forward, and maybe see if this is the right step for them?
Yes, I think the question that I will give will be what you want to improve, and that will be also the answer if whether you want to have the digital transformation happening in your company or with your product. Because whenever you're realizing the gaps that you have in the process or in your product, that's helping to improve and make everything working better.
You know what? I love that question. It seems so simple, but I can't tell you the number of times that I've been talking with clients and just saying, "What do you want in this area of your
Yeah.
business?" Not tech related, but and they don't know. They tell me all the things they don't want, which is fine, but like if you can paint a clear picture of exactly what you do want, Miriam, I assume your job gets a million times easier.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and being an amazing guest on the show. And for you, the listener, wherever you are, think about that question. If you can clearly identify what you want in tech, in business, in life, everything gets easier. Thank you, Mariam, for an amazing question. Make sure you subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.